Hey everyone, NintyFan here, aka Nintendo Boy 17, and damn, this news hit me like a ton of bricks when I read it last month on the official Dragon Ball Twitter page. Growing up watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, especially between late elementary school and junior high, hell, eventually discovering the manga via Shonen Jump and playing some games starting with Legendary Super Warriors, Dragon Ball played a huge part of my life growing up, making me still a huge fan to this day. While it wasn't initially planned this year, I thought I would finally play and finish the story of today's game, and even express my thoughts on it as to celebrate Toriyama's work. To that I say, thank you, Akira Toriyama. It is no surprise that there are too many fighting games based on the Dragon Ball franchise, especially off Dragon Ball Z. While it took until GT Final Bout to release in North America, it was DBZ Budokai on the PlayStation 2 and GameCube where they were really getting popular, right around the time when the anime was finally breaking through in the US via Toonami. And the majority of them got either mixed or pretty bad, if not horrendous reviews. But for me, while not one of the best fighting games, I still have quite the admiration for the first Budokai title. But my favorite Dragon Ball games back then weren't fighting games. Those were Legendary Super Warriors, a card battling RPG, and Origins, a level-based Zelda-style action-adventure, with 2/3 of its titles shared with a dark fantasy RPG by BioWare. Still, at some point, someone at Bandai Namco saw more potential for the franchise, teaming up with Arc System Works of Guilty Gear and BlazBlue fame. While not entirely new to the franchise, it would be announced with Xbox in 2017 that a new Dragon Ball fighting game, known as Dragon Ball FighterZ, with the Z, not an S, would release for not just Xbox One, but for PC and PlayStation 4 as well. And hot off the surprise hit of the Nintendo Switch, a port for said platform during one of Nintendo's E3 Directs in 2018, which is what I'm reviewing here. And how does this hyped up fighter involving a legendary license fare after so many mixed received titles? Let's find out. The story of the game involves Earth getting attacked by remnants of the Red Ribbon Army. Again. This time, their new plot is a set of invisible waves affecting some of the strongest fighters of the Dragon Ball universe. In addition, many of the series' villains, such as Frieza and Cell, were also resurrected, and there is a swarm of clones that resemble much of our heroes and some of the villains. This was masterminded by an android scientist designated as 21. But all hope is not lost. Spirits have entered several of these fighters, mainly Goku, Android 18, and even villains like Frieza. More so, it turns out that 21 is more than meets the eye, as she was created with cells of the Majin race, which not only gives her a true form, but she has separate personalities as well, not unlike Majin Buu. In any case, our heroes are once again tasked to save the world to stop Android 21. As far as the basic plot goes, it works. It's cool they decided to write a fresh story for the game rather than retell any old Dragon Ball arcs, but it nails the basic idea for the most part. My biggest problem with the story mode is that despite being split with 3 arcs, with all the same plot told differently, which can get a bit inconsistent at times, the biggest problem is how the mode itself is handled. For some strange reason, instead of just cutscenes before a fight, Arc System Works thought to add a map of stages on where to fight clones. Why? Dragon Ball Z Budokai on the GameCube already had the perfect kind of story mode for fighting games, so much so that Mortal Kombat 2011 adapted similar, and the latter was somehow the influential game, so I have no idea why fighters went this route. But if there's one thing I do like, believe it or not, some of the bonus cutscenes you can unlock depending on the playable characters you choose, and maybe what characters you're gonna fight. My 3 favorites are, as shown,
I would never accept recruits that lack discipline and respect like you two simpletons.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to do any weird poses before a fight either.
Weird poses? What in the world are you talking about?
You know, like the Ginyu Force. We'd have to strike poses like those guys, right? Wouldn't we?
Don't look at me. I don't instruct my men to do that. That's the personal preference of Ginyu and his men.
Oh, right. I thought all your guys did that. I don't know where I got that idea. Actually, Vegeta, didn't you used to...
I never did that!
Gotenks, superhero of justice, is here to rid the world of your ugly mugs. Come on, bring it!
Hey now, I like your passion, but don't take it too far. And a hero should speak more elegantly. I guess I'll have to show you kids what a real hero looks like.
Oh, come on! I don't need that! If I'm gonna be a hero, I want people to think I'm cool! I don't want to be lame like the great Saiyaman. Heroes gotta be cool!
Lame? Wait a second. Don't think I'm gonna let that slide. The great Saiyaman isn't lame!
Sorry? As long as Gotenks is here, there's no need for you grown-ups.
Don't get cocky! A battle is no place for games! Seriously? Those two are always so careless! Piccolo, this is your fault! What the heck have you taught them? Don't place the blame on me! Gotenks is Goten and Trunks, after all. He has both of their flaws. Maybe you should take more responsibility as a parent. Well, certainly. Kakarot has a big hand to play in this. He always lowers his guard and lets his power get to his head, just like these two troublemakers. To be fair, your aggressiveness and your habit of taunting enemies has rubbed off on them as well. No, this is all Kakarot's fault! Whatever the case, you can't get around the fact that one of them is your son. So just own up to it.
It's that self-aware humor you find on Power Rangers RPM poking fun at their own logic. I just love it. But beyond that, not a great story mode. As for the gameplay itself, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a 2.5D fighter with a 3v3 tag battling system, often compared to installments in the Capcom vs. series, mainly Marvel and Tatsunoko, in contrast to many anime licensed titles in the modern era being arena fighters such as Budokai Tenkaichi and Xenoverse. Here, FighterZ goes back to classic side view camera fighters, like Dragon Ball FighterZ of old, 2D and 3D. And unlike many legacy fighting games of old, Dragon Ball FighterZ aims for a fighting system that pleases both casual fighting fans and enthusiasts of the genre, and I dare say they succeeded. Using even my controller that was made for Bandai Namco's own Pokken tournament, the controls are easy to pick up on even without having to use the simple control mode. Hell, even the instructions for special moves are easier to learn. And it's worthy of note, Goku activates Kamehameha with the same controls of Ryu's Hadouken. Plus, moves and combos flow with ease, accompanied with a smooth frame rate even on the Switch, keeping up with Dragon Ball's high-octane action. As with every fighting game, it's all about the roster. Unlike most Dragon Ball games where they have an ungodly amount of characters with compromises to make it work, Dragon Ball FighterZ doesn't have that high amount. But what they do have, which as of 2024 is 44 characters, representing a fair share of Dragon Ball history, even referencing something as non-canon as GT, Fusion Reborn, the original Z Broly trilogy, and Bardock, father of Goku, and that I think is still commendable. Alongside the roster, there is the selection of modes. Besides the story mode I covered, there is your standard arcade mode, and how that is handled is unique in that, rather than a straight arcade ladder, you have 3 different branches, and depending on how well you do in the past fight, you either move up or downwards. It's still plenty fun, and all the same kinda makes you wanna try again for skill improvement. There is also versus mode local battle, and here, you do not have to play a standard 3-on-3 match. You can do 1-on-1, meaning, yeah, Super Broly versus Z Broly. You can have a friend with you or fight the AI. Of course, there is also online support, but as I'm already not great at fighters, as there's no way in hell I'm paying for Nintendo's online service, I could not be able to cover that. There is also various training modes, which you can do a little of in story mode, but there is also practice and boot camp mode. Still, while there aren't too many modes, the game is still high replayable even at their worst, so no complaints. On to the visuals, and while faithful to Akira Toriyama's art style, the animation has an interesting presentation. Kind of like that Spider-Verse style where the characters have a lower frame rate as they move. At least that was only in cutscenes, as the gameplay is way smoother. The only thing awkward is the mouth animations, especially when Gotenks is talking. However, the characters and backgrounds are very colorful, straight from the anime. To end, let's talk the audio. At least with the US version, you have options to listen to the English dub from Funimation, now under Crunchyroll, or you can choose the Japanese dub. I don't mind either, but I lean on the English dub on preference. Plus, I've learned not to be a snob on localization, knowing how hard it can get and why Funimation pushed that they had uncut versions of what they were able to release, be it their anime or their live action stuff. Hell, watching 2 different cuts of Jackie Chan's Police Story 2 teaches me how hard localization is. But I digress, there's still the music to talk about. Some of the soundtrack has the feel that would fit right in the anime series, but it's also a little more diverse in some stages. Like the World Tournament stage has some Chinese instruments like the erhu mixed with some rock and roll, which sounds incredible. All topped up with the sound effects from Toei's audio library. Overall, Dragon Ball FighterZ is, in my view, the definitive fighting game based on the Dragon Ball license. It felt like Arc System Works and Bandai Namco wanted something from the license that would match other licenses like GoldenEye for James Bond, or Knights of the Old Republic for Star Wars, as well as attract any fighting game enthusiasts who aren't into past Dragon Ball games. And I dare say, like before, they succeeded.